Hello, Linda. Thank you very much for coming. And
no problem.
Well, I've actually come to you today to tell us a little bit about the garden centre.
The garden centre is a family-run garden centre. It's a great garden centre. It has been on the go for about 35, 40 years. This is a new location. About 10 years ago, moved here. As I say, it's family-run. And we like to specialise in different things, niche kind of products, gifts, and different plants, things like that.
My mum used to work for a garden centre in England.
Yes.
She's a gardener. In fact, the fact that we now have a garden because my mum is living with us. You know,
lovely.
We had a jungle beforehand, and now it's like a little English garden that we have, which is absolutely lovely. And as a youngster, I used to go and do garden maintenance, just to cut the lawns and things like that. So tell us a little bit about how did you get started into...
Well, it was a career change for me, but I was always interested in gardens. I always gardened. And then whenever my children were small, I went back to retrain and study. I went to Queen's to their continuing education programme. I did a course in horticulture. Then I've always been interested in architecture and design, and I love the way that plants change and shape the landscape, and the fact that we can use plants to our benefit, especially now, in modern day, you know. So that's how I got into garden design. I did a course in garden design and started to work professionally about maybe 17 years ago. I got to the garden centre. I was based in the garden centre part-time, and that was a great way of honing my plant knowledge, and also meeting people who were interested in gardens and who wanted their gardens designed.
So one of the things I used to love about my dad doing his garden, he used to have an allotment.
Yeah.
And I wish he'd put a camera there and did time lapse.
Yes.
Because I imagined that there's a wave going up and down the garden with the seasons. How do you plan for each season?
Well, again, it's a very different. I mean, you will garden in your own garden and in your own allotment, because my sister and I have an allotment. Completely differently to I would design a garden for a client. A lot of people will want nowadays, unfortunately, low maintenance or no maintenance, as they say, which means that you have to plan for a very set garden that looks good all year round. Gardens, to me, I mean, my own garden can look lovely one week, the next week, you know, dishevelled, depending on the weather, depending on the time of year. I like to just let the plants go to seed, go over. You know, so gardens are always changing. Every season they'll change. Obviously, the height of the season is the summer, and whether you grow things to just look nice or whether you grow vegetables, you know, the gardens evolve. Gardens evolve through the seasons, and they evolve year on year as well, and grow and mature and get bigger, and you know, and as you say, a time lapse of a garden. You don't realise a garden 5 years down the line. You don't see those things grow, and you don't see the tree becoming big, or the shrubs encroaching on the path, whatever, until it happens. You know.
We've been living in our house 21 years, and my father-in-law put 2 sticks in the garden.
Yes,
which is quite interesting. Now my dad's a gardener. He pulled one of them up, and we got told off. We now have a 30-foot tree, literally, and I know that my mum normally goes around and cuts them, and I pruned it back this year. It's a kind of ash tree, I think it is. So it's a really nice. It's nice to have it, but we've got to think about the roots and stuff like that. Anybody that's about to stick something in their garden, what advice would you give them?
Gardens are much smaller now, and you know, gone are the big country estates, the big gardens that can take the big trees. But there are a huge range of plants that are suitable for a small garden. Just don't plant them right up against the house, you know. And again, if people now want instant. Nobody wants to wait for the tree to grow or whatever. You know, and in a way, maybe that makes people more aware of the value of plants or the value of big trees. So if you move into a garden and you've got a big tree and you're thinking about cutting it down, wait, you know, for a year at least to see what it does through the seasons. Maybe you can prune it back, maybe you can raise the crown, make it more suitable, adapt it to the space, you know, but certainly if you're planting a tree from scratch, don't put in the biggest tree that you can find. Quite often people will say to me, if I say this tree is going to get to, you know, 100 feet in 10 years, 15, 25 years, and they'll say, well, that's not going to affect me. I'll not be in that house, or I'll not be there, or whatever. You know, so it is that whole thing about gardening for the future as well, especially with trees.
And with trees, I mean, my dad was a tree surgeon at one point.
Yeah.
And obviously we have a tree that we had to prune back, and over a period of a year, I think the shoots went 6 foot high.
It does.
So now luckily my son was brave enough to go up and we wanted to make sure he was secure.
Yes,
but there's obviously health and safety,
of course.
You know, because we had big branches that we had to cut down, and we had to make those secure. So again, what advice would you give?
Get professional advice if you have a big tree like that, because not only you know, someone professional will know what time of year to cut it. As you say, if you cut it at the wrong time of year, it'll shoot everywhere. If you cut it later on in the year, that tree will stay as it is, and you can just prune it back after that each year, you know. But again, get professional advice, because they'll know what they're doing and they'll do it safely, you know.
Well, we were lucky that my mum, being she's 80, she's a long time, so we had that. She was advising me when to cut
and what to do with it.
And I'm just aware that my mum's getting a little bit older now. She can't do things. I'm going to have to start taking over those responsibilities.
That's the good thing about gardening. I mean, you can't really make that many mistakes. You make mistakes, but they'll always rectify themselves. You know, by the next year you'll have forgotten about the awful clashing plant combination that you planted or whatever. You know, gardens, as I say, are always changing, always evolving. They're alive, so they'll just, you know, grow, and people change too. You know, lots of people will want their garden designed for a specific time in their life, and I will always say keep gardens adaptable, you know, so that you can change.
We have more on the way, so please subscribe to this channel and check out the link below if you'd consider becoming a patron to help us keep making more content. Thanks for watching.